but y'all need to hear it. Y'all need to hear it because too often people walk around thinking folks care about their family land. I want to let you know that nobody cares about your family land. Nobody cares about it like you do. So, with that in mind, I need for you to take the actions you need to take to protect your family land. You can't be upset about people being out there wanting to get your family land for as cheap as possible. You can't be upset about the courts not wanting to hear from you and wanting to work with you to get things done. When it comes to your family property, you have to be the one, you and your family, y'all have to be the ones that take the actions needed to protect that property. And when I say that, I mean, if you know of an issue impacting your family land, your family home, you need to hire a lawyer who is well versed in estate property or real estate, something related to the type of issue you are dealing with. Don't let it just go on and hope that the problem will go away. Don't expect anybody else to come and fight the fight for you. You have to take control. You have to take ownership. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I have been working with families in heirs property for many years now, several years. We are going on 10 years in a few months that I've been working with families on heirs property. And I have seen pretty much everything. In fact, I'm gonna say I went even further. It's more than 10, going on 12, 13 years that I have been working with families on heirs property issues. And I say that because I didn't even realize that I had an heirs property case way back when I was helping somebody prepare her will, and there were some other issues that I helped her with that was related to heirs property, but I didn't understand what it was back then. So I've been doing heirs property stuff for at least 12, 13 good years. And I have seen so many families lose their family property because they did not take the proper legal steps to protect that family. Now, when I'm saying that, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying it because I need y'all to watch this video and I need y'all to know that there are things that you have to do to protect your family land. Things like creating a will or a trust if you own real estate, so that you can make sure that you put someone over that property who is going to be responsible, who is going to take the proper actions to make sure the property taxes are paid, the legal title is updated when it needs to be updated, to make sure that the property is maintained, that it's up to code standards, things like that. You need to make sure that you create a will or a trust where you designate someone to be over the property that you have after you die, or if you become incapacitated, you need to have the proper agents in place through a power of attorney or through a healthcare directive to make sure that the things you own, the circumstances that you are responsible for, are taken care of in the event that you're not able to do it. Too many families just allow things to happen. They assume that just because I care about this property, that my children care about it. Or they assume that because I know how to pay the taxes every year, or I know how to make sure that my property is up to code, that my children know how, that my grandchildren know how. We can't assume anything anymore. We've seen too often where families fall into trouble because family members don't know what to do. So I want you to understand that you care about your family property. That does not mean everybody else does. I just got off of a hearing a few minutes ago, and there are a few things that came up that I wanted to make sure I talked with y'all about. One is, in this particular case, an investor bought into my client's property. It's a family property, so they bought it from one of the family members, and it's in a very desirable area. It's a place where a lot of people want to live, and so people are buying these houses for way, way more money than what the original people in these neighborhoods were paying for these properties. So you end up in a situation where a family has inherited property. Let's say that great grandparents bought a house in the 50s or the 60s, and now that property is still in the grandparents' names. And we know those grandparents are deceased, and their property has transferred down from the children, who are now all deceased, to grandchildren and great grandchildren. So all of these different people own part of this family property. They still consider it to be their family property. They have family gatherings there. Some people still live there. It's a place in case somebody in the family needs a place to stay temporarily. They can go stay there. That's the kind of place this is. It's Big Mama's house. It's Granddaddy's house. This is the family property. But ownership was in the name of the grandparents. And you know what? Some developers got a hold of that information. They went to one of the family members who don't live on the property and bought a small fraction of an interest in the property. And they slowly, it caught wind in the family. Hey, so and so sold their property to their interest in this property to this person for they got $3,000, they got $5,000, whatever it might be. Sounds like a lot of money, but now this property has the amount of money that this investor originally offered the family. Now they're trying to say that it's worth 4 or 5 times as much as what it was worth just a few years ago. So family members are now saying, "Hey, I sold my interest for pennies." Like, yeah, you did, but that's because you didn't do the steps that you didn't take the steps you needed to take to understand what your property was worth and to understand not only what it's worth at the time but what it could be worth if you sell it to the right person. And in some cases, family members are not being mindful of the loved ones who live in the home, and they're just selling it to somebody who approached them without seeing if the people who live in the home are okay with them selling their interest in the property, not checking in with the other family members. So we end up in a case where one, you have family members that sold their interest in this property for pennies, and now they're looking at what the value is, and they're wondering why in the world did I get pennies when this much money is available. Nobody forced them to sign those deeds, at least as far as I know. I don't know how it is in this case. But in a lot of cases, nobody's forcing the people to sign a deed. Nobody is saying, you better do this or I'm going to take you to jail or I'm going to hurt you. They're saying, hey, I know that your grandparents or your great grandparents owned a house. And I know that your part of the property is, you got about 5% interest in the property. How about I give you $5,000? Would you like to get $5,000? Just sign this over here and give me your part. And I'm going to go to your other family members, see if they'll give me your part as well. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm going to give you $5,000 for your interest in the property, you need to ask that question. What is my interest really worth? Excuse me. Somebody offering you $5,000 off the street. What are they going to get for that $5,000 that they gave you? So we really need to think about this kind of stuff. And people say, well, it's not fair. You're preying upon people. I understand that maybe they're catching people in a vulnerable position, but we got to be on guard for that kind of stuff. People are doing it, but who could blame them? So we need to make sure that we understand the value of what we have, that we have a clear plan moving forward for how we're going to handle our own property, so that someone else doesn't come from the outside and give us a vision for what we own. We got to have our own vision and our own standards already in place so that we're prepared if someone comes and tries to take advantage of us or offer us pennies for something. So I know I'm kind of talking all over the place, talking a little bit out of passion. You might be wondering where is she going with this. What I want to say is your family has a legacy. It may be something that was partially built from your grandparents or your great grandparents buying a property and leaving it to the family, and they might have had some land that they say, hey, I want this land to stay in the family. God ain't making no more land. I need y'all to take care of this land. Whatever it might be, there are going to be people out there who understand. If you don't know what you're dealing with, there might be people out there who know what you have and what the value is more than you do. So you have to be savvy because they don't care about the legacy part of things. They're just looking at how can I make the most money. And we can't blame people for taking advantage of opportunities that are presented to them. So we have to be more savvy when it comes to our family property to make sure that we guard against that kind of stuff. Like I said earlier, if you own property, make sure you have a will, make sure you have a trust, some kind of estate plan in place to protect that family so that it gets to the next generation in the way you intended. And then for those of you who inherit an interest in property, you got to get with your family members and say, hey, what are we going to do with this property moving forward? I don't want you coming in at the back end and saying, "Oh, I didn't know what I was signing. I didn't know what I was giving away, and now my family's legacy is gone for just a few dollars." You got to plan ahead for that because it's going to happen if you have valuable property. People are going to want your property. So you have to have a plan to protect it. Not only a written legal plan, you also need to be talking with your family so that y'all are on the same page. If there are family members who don't have a good understanding and love for the family legacy, buy them out if you can. Get them out the picture so that they don't go and sell their interest to some other person who doesn't care about your family. um a lot of times families feel like I shouldn't have to buy my cousin out. My grandparents left us this land. Yeah, that's true. Maybe they should, out of the kindness of their heart, just give their interest to you. Or maybe they should, out of respect for their grandparents, want to participate in this family effort. But everybody don't want to do that, and we can't force people to do it. So if it's somebody in your family who clearly does not want to participate in the family venture, buy them out as soon as possible. And if you don't have the money now, find the money because you got to get them off the property. Because if you don't buy them out, somebody else is going to buy them out. And then you're going to have problems with people who are outside the family fighting you for your family property. People say that's not fair. You're preying on people. We got to get beyond that kind of stuff. We can't expect everybody to follow the same value system. We might think it's unfair, but it's what happens. So, what we have to do is be on guard, be prepared. Know that there are people who will be predators out there. Just don't be a prey. You got to make sure that you are not in a position to be victimized. And so I know I've been rambling, but I do want to say this. Lawyers are not just expensive people that you got to pay to get things done. I'm telling you, there is value in consulting with the lawyer. Like I mentioned before, I was in a hearing earlier and someone came into the hearing and said, I have these questions. I want to do this. I want to do that. I don't think this is fair. And the judge said, this is not the place for that. If you need to participate in this process, you need to do it the proper way. And I am not in a position where I can advise you on what the proper way is. So, in that kind of situation, this person is assuming that they understand what the law is based on what they looked online and saw, but they didn't know a third of what was really going on. They could have solved that real easily by talking with a lawyer and getting some advice. And maybe even before they took the actions to sign away their interest, they should have had a lawyer look over the documents to make sure that what they were signing, that they understood it and that they actually were getting everything that they were entitled to. Talking to a lawyer is not an unnecessary step. It's not just a hurdle. It's something that can allow you to make the decision that's best for you in any given situation. So that's my last thing that I'm gonna just really harp on is if you own family property, you need to talk with a lawyer to make sure that that property is set up in a way that's going to protect you and your family moving forward. And when I say family property, what I'm talking about is heirs property. So I define that as property that's passed down from one generation to the next generation, possibly to the next generation, the next generation a few times, and is owned by a lot of members of the same family. So it could be a house, it could be land, but it could be a farm, it could be a business even. If someone died and they owned a business and they didn't have stuff in place, then their heirs can inherit that business. Whatever it is that you own that is inherited family property and you own it jointly with other family members, it's important that y'all get together as quickly as possible, put a plan in place for how you're going to manage that property as a family moving forward, and make sure that you have a lawyer to make sure that the documents are drafted properly. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with families who I'm cleaning up a mess that was created because they did not hire a lawyer at the front end. And I'm not blaming anybody. I know that lawyers are not inexpensive. We can be an investment. I know that everybody doesn't know a lawyer that they can trust. I get this. I know that not everybody knew that just because you find a document online and it says that it was reviewed by lawyers, that that document may not be the best document for you and your family. I do understand all these things. But because you're watching this video, You don't have an excuse anymore because I'm telling you, please talk to a lawyer if you own family property and you're trying to create a plan to protect that property. Don't try to do it on your own. I promise you, there's a lot that could happen that you can't even anticipate because you're not studying this and working in this every day like I am and other lawyers who do this work are. So you need to talk to a probate lawyer or a real estate lawyer, but you definitely want to make sure that whichever category you're working with, they understand heirs property because there's a lot of overlap between real estate, probate, and you want to make sure that this person understands how all of it fits together. And there's even some business stuff in there because I create LLCs for my clients to help them to take multiple family interests and put them into one entity, which is the LLC. So they need to know a little business law as well. Um, but make sure you get somebody who is going to be a good person for you to consult with about this. So you see the title of my video is Nobody Cares About Your Family Legacy. That is true and it's not true. You care about it. I care about it. There are many other lawyers who do care about it. But don't assume that everybody cares about it because they don't. There are a lot of people who don't care about what your grandparents suffered or sacrificed or worked hard for to give you something. They just trying to make money for their family and their future generations. So be savvy about that so that you're not getting caught up in what you might see as something that's a scam or some kind of fraudulent activity, but it's really legitimate business. That's my plea to you today, if we'll call it that. If you don't know who I am Veronica McClendon. I'm an attorney in Georgia. If you own heirs property in the state of Georgia, I'd be happy to talk with you about it to see if we can help you find a solution to either clear up the title, make sure there's no issues with the ownership situation, or even help you and your family to create a plan moving forward so that y'all can manage that property in a way that's beneficial to you and your family and helps to continue that family legacy. Thank y'all so much for tuning in this afternoon. I hope that you enjoyed it, that you got something from it. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with a friend if you think it'll be helpful. Y'all take care.